Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can really help the show reach more loss and infertility families by taking a moment to leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. You can also check out more information about the episode in the show notes at journeyforjasmine.com. In this episode, Shannon and Andrew share their journey through infertility and the devastating loss of one of their twins, Lucas, who was born at 31 weeks due to a rare condition. After a challenging twin pregnancy, they navigated a 45-day NICU stay with their surviving daughter, Sophia, and 2 miscarriages before welcoming their rainbow baby, Athena. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Shannon and Andrew. Can you guys tell us a little about yourselves?
Yes, my name is Andrew Garcia, and I born and raised in Denver along with my wife Shannon. We actually met in high school. We both went to North Glen High School, and that was about 16 years ago now. And that's when we started dating. So your typical high school sweethearts. But she's also born and raised in Denver, and both of our families are here. And for me personally, I work for RTD. I'm in safety. I provide safety oversight for all the bus facilities here in Denver.
That sounds like an important job.
It can be at times. There's a lot of just waiting for stuff to happen.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, and I work at National Jewish. I've been there for almost 7 years, and I am a clinical research coordinator. So I do research on pediatric kids, and we look at eczema and asthma as well as food allergies.
You guys both sound like you have interesting jobs.
Yeah, but I think they're really interesting.
So do you
Gives
guys,
us stuff to talk about.
yeah, yeah. Do you mind sharing, about your journey so far?
Yeah. So we got married in, oh gosh, what year was that? Like 2017,
16.
16? I never remember the year. And then it was about a couple years after that that we started trying to have kids. We both talked about it quite a bit that we wanted a huge family. We wanted like at least 4 kids. At least that was the minimum. And I think Shannon wanted like 6. And I was like, okay, I'm going to draw the line there. But we were all overall on the same page that we wanted a lot of kids. We wanted a big family. And so that was exciting for us because, it was just both of us being so family oriented, both of us wanting just to be surrounded with kids was exciting. And then so the initial challenge was infertility. My wife and I could not get pregnant for how long?
It was about over a year that we tried to get pregnant, and we did like multiple tests, and they couldn't really figure out like why we couldn't get pregnant. And so we ended up getting on Clomid, which is like an infertility medication to help us get pregnant. We did 1 round of that and it was successful. And so we found out we were pregnant, and then we went in, did the ultrasound, and we were pregnant with twins.
And it was funny. The ultrasound tech was like, "Oh, it's twins," and looked directly at me, thinking I was going to be like freaked out. But I was more just like, "Holy moly, this is awesome!" Kind of like perfect. On our way to 4, we're halfway there. That's what I was thinking. And so initially it was exciting, and then it was the first appointment with our OB that kind of started pointing us towards a different direction when she said, "Yeah, like twin pregnancies are already going to be high risk just because it's twins, but we're concerned about baby A because right away they could tell that something was off. Baby A was a little smaller. I mean, this was like initially like the first ultrasound, so like there was just little, you know, dots on the ultrasound, but they could already tell something was a little off. So they sent us to the high risk doctors. So we initially very excited, and then very quickly we're like, oh, wait, what's going on here?"
Yeah, we didn't really know much either about high risk. Like this is all brand new to us. So we're like, okay, I guess we have to go see high risk. Then we went and saw high risk. This was about like 12-ish weeks that they're like, you got to go see high risk. So we went and did that around 16 weeks. They were just like, yeah, something is really wrong, or like something's really, not growing properly with baby A, but they couldn't tell why or what it was. And so we ended up doing like literally every genetic test under the sun that you could possibly think of. And everything just kept coming back normal. Everything, like I mean, literally everything was coming back normal. And then we did an amnio around, I think it was like 20 weeks or like 18 or 20 weeks. We did an amnio. And I mean, Andrew and I had a really tough conversation where we were like, do we want to terminate baby A to try to, move forward with this pregnancy? Or do we continue on the pregnancy and know that something could be potentially wrong with baby A when baby A is born?
And then keep in mind too, as when we first got the news that something was pretty wrong with baby A, like significantly wrong, we had to go to basically weekly appointments to high risk OB. And so every week we're getting just basically confirmation that baby A is not developing right, whether it's they couldn't find any genitalia initially, they couldn't even determine if boy or girl or not, significantly smaller. And then on the flip side, baby B this whole time growing fine. If anything, she would determine her gender. She was growing great. She was actually a little bigger than she should be. So they were really pumped about baby B this whole time. But then every weekly appointment was, and then by the way, baby A is actually not improving at all. And this is still looking really bad. And so we're balancing that out every single week. We were going to appointments. And then as we were getting further along, we were just making sure baby B was fine. And that's when we did the amnio. What was the amnio for? Was that for
It's just more genetic testing.
genetic testing? And because they even did genetic testing on me, on Shannon, just to kind of, and they were doing like new, like almost research based theoretical genetic testing. Like we're trying to test for everything to try to figure out what's going on with baby A. And then it was around, was it 21 weeks? We went on our trip.
We like did a baby moon. We went to Florida and we just try to celebrate all the little all of the little rewards that we got basically from the good news basically we got from the genetic testing. And we were waiting for like really like pretty intense genetic testing while we were in Florida. And again, everything literally kept coming back positive. There's nothing wrong with baby A. And so that gave us so much hope that, like, you know what, maybe he could make it all the way and survive this.
Because, yeah, I remember we were waiting for the testing in Florida, waiting to hear back from it. And they called and said, yeah, no mutations that, the known ones that usually pop up with what they were seeing on the ultrasound. So it was like everything was normal. And so we were like, wow, well, maybe there is a little glimmer of hope here. And then we got back from the trip. That's where I may need your help with some of those.
Yeah, so we got back from our trip and then we had our baby shower planned. And the day before my baby shower, I got a phone call from our doctor saying that they finally found something with baby A. And what they determined it was something called boring-Opitz syndrome. And basically, the outcome of it is like they're not going to survive a very long time. If they even make it to delivery, it could be hours, it could be a couple of days that they would survive. And so, like, hearing this information literally the day before my baby shower, I was like, I didn't know what to do. Everyone was coming. They're giving us these twin gifts. Like, I have boy gifts, I have girl gifts. Like, it was like one of the hardest things I ever experienced because you have to put this like face on in front of all of your friends, all of your family, because they didn't know what was really like happening. We kept it very private with everybody just because it is a private thing for us. So we had our baby shower and it was so challenging.
And the whole time too, we have to keep reminding ourselves that baby B, she's doing just fine this whole time. Every week was, and your other baby's fine. We're like, okay, like that's amazing, but it's, just counterbalancing that with every week we're getting worse news about baby A at this point. And then, yeah, the baby shower was hard because, there's some family members even that knew what was going on. and like friends and other acquaintances are like, oh, what are you guys doing for the nursery and like all these other things? We're just like, I'm not even thinking about that right now. Like we're just we put a crib up in a room and that's basically all we got because we're trying to just survive week to week at this point. And then I think we had two baby showers too. So it was one because we had both families for us are in Colorado. So we my wife's side of the family, Shannon's side of the family had a lot of people coming, and my side of the family had a lot too. So we had two big baby showers, which was it's good to have that much family around for the support, but then it's also like, wow, we had to relive that pretty hard day twice. So it was tough. And also trying to remember that, baby B is still doing really good. And at this point, I think we definitely had our names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
baby A is Lucas, baby B is Sophia.
I love their
yeah,
names.
thank you.
And then I'm trying to remember what else was after the baby showers. It gets fuzzy for me after the baby showers. I think that's kind of towards the end of it.
Yeah, it was mostly towards the end. Like it was just living like day by day, essentially. We would go to the doctors every week just to see the progress of both of them. And I actually had like one of the nurses' cell phone numbers. And so it's interesting because I had her cell phone and I was like, I think I don't know, I just feel like something is wrong, but I wasn't sure like what was going on. I just like had that like instinct, you know. And the night before this all happened, I had a dream that Lucas had passed away and like I was at his funeral and we were like celebrating him, at his funeral. And the next day I go in and we did the ultrasound on them and yeah, Lucas had passed away on September 17th. And basically it was just, we went in, they said that he had passed away and there's nothing else really we could do. I'm not going to go into labor or anything like that. So we went home after that ultrasound knowing that, Lucas has passed away inside of me and baby B is still killing it. But Sophia is killing it. She's still moving around. And after that, it was like, I don't
But
know.
even that morning, though, in the ultrasound, and tech does it, and she just abruptly stops in the middle of it. And it's like, I'll be right back. And that's when we kind of had a feeling.
And I think I even told you, like, I
Yeah.
know, like, he's gone, like, something's wrong.
And then they came in and the doctor confirmed and told us. And even though we knew this was a high chance of happening, it was still just like the news that his heart has stopped. It basically is what they told us. His heart's not beating. Was it was rough. It's a feeling that makes it's hard to describe that feeling of hearing that news just because even though we knew it was going to happen eventually and then bouncing it out with the doctor like, and by the way, Sophia is doing just fine, so keep going. And the only thing after that, my wife and I are both very like game plan oriented. After we were able to console a little bit, we're like, well, it's game based, let's go back to it, what's next? And they just said keep an eye on you because you could go into labor earlier because of it, and just to see how you're feeling and still keep up with the weekly appointments. So we kind of had to rally pretty quickly afterwards, which was rough. But then after that, it was what, a week later.
Yeah, so he passed away on September 17th, and we delivered both babies on September 26th. I went into the hospital, I think like 2 days after we found out that Lucas had passed, and they were just basically monitoring me. I did have a cerclage placed early into the pregnancy just to help basically keep them in for as long as we possibly could. And so when I went into the doctors at the hospital, like 2 days after Lucas had passed, they did remove the cerclage. And nothing was happening. It was slow. And
But they also wanted to keep them in because they were thinking you're going in labor, right? And so they wanted to keep Sophia in there as long as possible. They were giving you injections of, do you remember?
yeah, just to help her lungs develop,
Yeah,
they gave
because this was
injections.
28 weeks.
So we delivered them 31 weeks and 3
31
days.
weeks.
And so, yeah, they just had to give like the injections to help make sure that her lungs started developing properly, quickly, essentially. And then,
But yeah,
yeah,
shit,
we
you were in the
stayed.
hospital for, well, 4 days before.
Mhm.
So it was 4 days of just keeping an eye on her, keeping an eye on baby B, Sophia, and giving her those injections every day just because of for some, I don't remember the the injection itself, but it's supposed to like beef up Sophia's lungs since she was going to be a pretty, premature, so that when she is born, that it gives her a better, good starting point, a better starting point. But it was basically like at that point, like, yeah, you're going to give birth here soon, but we just want to hang on as every day they kept stressing that is critical in Sophia's development. So it was a little stressful for that because we're like, at this point, like, it was already the hardest thing we've ever had to do. It's like, let's just get to the finish line, let's do whatever we can to, well, Shannon, obviously, stuck in a hospital and getting these injections, getting poked and prodded every day, but we're like, we don't care, we've worked so hard to get this baby here. And then it was the after I think I stayed with you a few nights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the nights, Shannon's like, you know what, just go home. There's nothing going on. Get some sleep. Go to work the next day. If you need to come, you can. I'm like, okay, sounds good. I head home and we both go to bed. I remember calling you go to bed. And I think like 45 minutes later, Shannon called me. I was like, hey, I'm going into labor. I'm like, oh gosh. So I rush over there. I wasn't ready at all. Because I mean, that's the thing. Everything was so stable up until that point. But it was funny though, is that day before we went to bed, they were trying to discharge you, weren't they? Because it was like, actually, you're
They're
not
like,
going.
you're fine. You can go home. And I was like adamant. I was like, I am not going home. I am staying here. We are having these babies before I leave.
But she just had this. You remember she'd been saying like, I have a feeling I just need to stay at least one more night. I'm like, all right, it's fine, but all right, I'll go home and I'll check on the house and all that. And yeah, that I fall asleep. 45 minutes later, she's calling me in labor, and so there's a little bit of that, kind of like in the movies. Oh, the wife's in labor. I'm rushing down to the hospital and immediately just worrying about making sure Shan is okay, obviously, and all that. And then of course, with the situation, it was nothing you would really expect with this kind of labor and delivery. There was about like 20 nurses in that room. Your mom got there too, and so everything was so critical just because we even had a few weeks before that, we had a meeting with the NICU nurse who basically was like, all right, here, this is before Lucas had passed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she was basically going through a plan of care for both babies. And she was like, obviously, Sophia's, when she's born, we're going to do everything we can to make sure everything's fine. But they're like, what about with Lucas? This was before he passed. And so it was very interesting and traumatic talking about a plan of care for Lucas in that if he's born alive,
What do we want to do?
what do we want to do? Do we want to do everything we can, have the nurse team do everything they can to keep him alive, and no matter what it takes, so that he's here with us as long as possible, or even a good chance of survival kind of thing, even though that was very slim? Or knowing the diagnosis at this point, like, or do we just want basically comfort care, something to keep him as comfortable as possible so we can just try our best to enjoy the time with him? And so we're talking about this, like it's just stuff that you never even think of, even having to go through these thoughts and some sort of game plan as to what we're going to do with one of our babies. And I think we had ultimately decided that we are just going to go with comfort care because we had known that at this point that, yeah, if he's born, he's going to be, they made it clear, like he could be in extreme amount of pain, discomfort. He can, either way. And it seemed cruel to us to be like, do everything we can to keep him alive, and even if he's suffering. And so we had decided on comfort care. And so, but that's the thing, that all went out the window when we found out he had passed away. And then when Shannon went into delivery, she gave birth to Lucas first.
And yeah, so I delivered him vaginally at 10:43 on September 26th. And it was so hard to deliver your son that had passed away, knowing that like, he's not going to come out crying or screaming or any of the things that you would normally experience for your baby. And
I really applaud the nursing team there. Like they wrapped him up in a towel, like, they would for a baby that's born alive. they handed him to us. And I just remember Shannon and I just,
We're devastated.
yeah, devastated, because it's like it came to fruition, everything that we had feared, everything that we had worked for to this point. I'm actually seeing him and holding him. Then that's the thing. Like shortly, we only had a few. Like it felt like a very long time with him, but then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, Sophia's coming right out, like 40 minutes later, something like that, like an hour later. And so we, they took him from us to, basically take care of him, and we had to rally again because we were at a point where it's like, well, now we are giving birth to our very healthy but very premature Sophia, and so it's like, let's make sure we do this okay, because we had to completely flip our minds from devastation to like, okay, well, now this is critical because she's going to be born so small. Who knows what she'll need when she's born? And so we had to rally again. It was a total flip. It was an exhausting night, obviously for Shan for being in labor, but just in general with the emotions that we had to flip. And so another, was it like, I don't remember the times.
Yeah, so I do think the most like beautiful thing that happened after delivering Lucas is we were able to spend that time with him, and it was like so nice just to spend time with just him before Sophia came out, because I mean we'll never get that again. And so Andrew was able to hold him, I was able to hold him. They placed him right next to me in a little like,
The same thing, little bassinet.
yeah, a little
That's what
bassinet.
too.
They made sure that he had basically like this cold mat underneath him to just basically preserve his body. And then we delivered Sophia at 12:30. And with that, there's so many people there. As soon as she came out, they like basically did everything to help her breathe and all of the things. And they rushed her to the NICU after that. And so,
And Shan doesn't remember this. You were pretty at that point. They had to load her up on like her epidural and everything. She was still feeling a lot of discomfort, and so I think after she gave birth to Sophia, I think probably with everything else, she was pretty out of it. And the nursing team, it was like a NASCAR pit crew, because as soon as Sophia was born, all those 20 other nurses that were in there, hopped in to make sure she was okay. I was in the middle of also making sure Shannon was okay because she was actually starting to like pass out at that point. She was starting to be really out of it. But then one of Shannon's only things she said to like your mom was like, follow Sophia. That was the plan. Make sure Sophia is okay. Follow her to the NICU. And so we sent her mom over there. And I was like, okay, well, Shan seems okay. Let me also check on Sophia. And this was the craziest thing. Like, so that same NICU nurse that we had the plan of care meeting with, I saw they had oxygen on Sophia, and I was like, "How is she doing?" She's like, "Oh, well, she stopped breathing, but we kind of expected that." I'm like, "What?"
Like, just
Like,
say it so
so
casually.
we're like,
and I'm like, "Are you for real?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're fine. Like we're taking care of it." I'm like, "Yeah, like that." I don't have nothing else to say for that because I was just so speechless. And then they took her, and your mom followed. And they're like, and I stayed with you obviously because I wanted to make sure you're okay. You weren't doing good at that point, and I'm just thinking like, wow, like, these NICU nurses are amazing because, especially just telling me like, oh yeah, she stopped breathing, but we expected that. Like, well, thank you for not like I would have freaked out probably if they would have told me that beforehand. Like, oh yeah, she'll stop breathing for sure. Don't worry though. I would have been really
Right?
worried,
Like, it's
but
not funny, but
and
just
looking back on it now, like, wow, okay. But then so they took her to NICU. Your mom followed. And at this point, I was just making sure Shanna's okay because actually she was having a tough time staying awake. I think just from being exhausted and everything going on and the extra meds you had to get. And so they did, after they took care of you, got you going, they wheeled us to another room and took Lucas with us. And they basically made sure that you were stable. And they said, you know what, you guys just hang out and you know take a breather essentially because they knew it was a lot. And I think you had passed out. I went and checked on Sophia again. Your mom was good with her. Sophia was breathing. I'm like, okay, good. And I walked back over to your room with you, and you were basically passed out. And then that's where we stayed for about an hour. That's the thing, actually, in between then too, you were okay enough to try to wheel and to go see Sophia. And I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that.
Oh, and I did go and see
So
Sophia
I
in the
tried,
NICU.
yeah, I tried wheeling her in a wheelchair over there. And I think you saw her for just a little
Stood
bit.
up, I saw her, and then I passed out. They wheeled
Passed
me
out
back.
hard. And that's when they're like, oh gosh. So they wheeled us to another room, made sure she was okay. And that's when they said, okay, you guys need to chill.
We just had a vibe. So basically, the nurse like, you need to eat and you need to vibe.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I slept. My mom was with Sophia, and Andrew was able to spend such good quality time with Lucas that he literally values so much even today.
Yeah, it was about 45 minutes. I made sure Shannon was okay. We're in a dark room. They basically told Shannon, like, take a nap essentially when you're awake, drink some juice that they had for her. And so I was like, well, what do I do? But I was like, well, Lucas was in the bassinet right next to us. And so I picked him up and held him that whole time and basically just cried. Is probably the hardest cry, not probably the hardest cry I think I've ever done for a solid at least 20, 30 minutes. And that's time that I've talked to Shan about that. I know that I wish she would have gotten, but I know she was just so physically worn down from labor and delivery and everything else going on. That is time I wish she would have had with him because it was hard because they said, like, we will get him for you anytime, but you got to remember, like, he's very delicate and unfortunately decomposition and all that. So it's like we can't just have him out all the time. And this was only a few hours after delivery, so I was able just to hold him for a solid 30 minutes and get that time with him that I really wish Shan would have had. But at this point, we were just trying to make sure she was okay, and we also had Sophia to worry about. But then after that, when Shan was finally able to stay awake and all that, we went back to the NICU with your mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And that's the
we
thing,
started.
my mom was waiting in the lobby the whole time. She's like, are you guys okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you're even here.
Oops,
My
forgot to
mom
give
and
you
my
the
sister.
updates.
Yeah, it was like, oh man, yeah, you've been here all like the last 4 hours. And so it was even then like, yeah, maybe you guys should come see the baby.
Yeah, that must have been
So
so
yeah, we
hard
went to
for
the
you too, Andrew, having to, not only have you lost your son, but then having a daughter in the NICU and then also worrying about Shannon. And I mean, that's a lot for you to take on at once.
yeah, it's been something that Shannon and I've talked about. Just, there's been a lot of things after the twins too that we've been dealing with health wise. And so it's been a lot with that. But honestly, that whole day was just game plan, rallying just to get her going. And I know afterwards we were exhausted that night. Holy moly, we were so tired. But that whole day though, I feel like I barely remember. We were just sitting in the NICU with Sophia and making sure you're okay. And my mom saw her. Your mom was spent actually a lot of time with Sophia because that was like a couple hours because we just said, your mom don't leave the NICU until we get there. And so we had to wait until Shan was fine. And then we finally got in there. So the whole time she was in there, she even said, like, I haven't gone to the bathroom or anything. I just, she was hungry, but she listened to her one order from Shannon and didn't move. And so that's the thing. I think it was like right after you gave birth to Sophia, you told your mom, go and do not leave her. And she listened because it was like 2 hours later, we finally got back in there. And she was like, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I need to go to the bathroom. We're like, oh, yeah, sorry. Just like how I forgot about my mom, we kind of forgot about yours in there too. Then after that, it was the next like 3 days, right? We were in the hospital. We stayed there.
Yeah, we stayed an extra day just so we could be with both of our babies. And it was really nice because we were able to see Lucas basically whenever we wanted. And so we would just go see Sophia and then we'd go back to our room. And then it was just, the 3 days of doing that essentially.
We had some family come in, and this was in 2019, September.
So right during RSV, right when COVID was like, hey.
Well, that's the thing. It's right before COVID, but we were already kind of on COVID protocols.
Yeah.
They really stressed to us, like, she's sure. If people are coming in, like, they made them wash their hands. They were sick. They weren't allowed. they didn't allow kids in there at all. And so like people wanted to see Sophia. And so it's like one at a time, wash your hands. We're really strict, really obviously paranoid because we're like, we worked our butts off to get this baby here. Like, no. So we did hurt some feelings that sometimes like, you have the sniffles, you're not allowed. And so some family members were getting a little feisty with us, but it's like, no, we worked too hard to get these babies here, like to have them get sick at this point. So, and then after that, it was the another hard part for me is that Shannon's like, well, we're home. You went to the NICU every day. But then that was the time for me to actually have to go back to work, and it was freaking terrible. I was like, I don't want to go to work. Like, I got my baby in the NICU, my wife's at the NICU with her, but we had to get things going again and get a funeral going as well. And yeah, and so what was nice about this was Rose Medical Center. They had some support services for us to kind of point towards like, we got organizations that'll help with our situation and other situations similar. It's like with stillborn, like they'll do services for free. And so I was able to work with this other organization, get a pastor there to just say some nice things. We organized it with it wasn't a church, it was a venue, wasn't it? Or was it like
It's like a little church.
yeah, a little church. And then we got, I asked my mom to get some flowers and, just get some other things organized, told all the family where it was, the date, balloon release and all that, just to make it as nice as we could. I planned out a eulogy, said some words about him and us and everything that happened. And it was a really nice service for him, which I really appreciated that Rose had those resources for us and that everything actually went really well with it. Man, thinking about that, this whole time Sophia's in the NICU, we're planning a funeral for him, for Lucas, getting cremation services going too. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. And the funeral itself, I do believe for our family and our extended family was eye-opening for them because, it's not like we kept it secret, but it's not like we're sharing all these details every weekly appointment with them every time because it's like we were just trying to survive. But when I did my eulogy, I was able to kind of highlight some of the stuff that we had to do to get these babies here and the dates and times and all that, and just talk about how we're feeling and how hard it's been and honoring him as best as we could. I think it did help, at least at that time, make him real to them, which has been something that we're still struggling with to this day, is that just our family not acknowledging him. But it was nice being able to kind of force them to acknowledge him for that day. And then after that, it was funeral was done, and I had to go back to work, and Shan was at the NICU every day for a solid 45 days.
And then she came home.
We were, doing the normal baby stuff. Like Shan was trying to learn how to breastfeed, and we're trying to. That's the thing, normal baby stuff, and in quotes for us because she was so small. She was born 3 pounds 13 ounces, and so we had to feed her differently. She had a feeding tube too, but when we tried to bottle feed her, we had to hold her on her side and tip the bottle lightly so that she didn't start choking on it because I was just holding this tiny teeny baby. And so certain things like that, we were learning how to do it, but it was like our parents, none of us could really guide us through this because they all gave birth to these big burly kids. And so we're like, well, this is our reality. And then every day we were now just worrying about her growth every day. It's like, oh, she gained I think was measuring her in ounces, or was it grams even? I forgot. But either way, it was like, oh, she gained a little bit. So every, couple of days we were excited about that. They had a camera set up for us so I could spy on her when I was at work. I would check on her obsessively. And that's the thing. Every day Shannon would go there and he'd come home in the evening. And that was 45 days. And I think when she left, how much did she weigh?
Oh gosh.
I think it was like, was it like almost 5 pounds?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 5 pounds around that. And still tiny, right? And so we threw her in a car seat. I'm just looking at it like, holy moly, this baby is tiny. And we have her in a car seat and took her home. And that's for us now, it was the grind to get her up to speed, really. we had the next day at a pediatrician appointment, and the pediatrician was like, she's looking great, but you have to stay diligent on her feedings. And so every 3 hours on the dot, we had to feed her a specific amount, ounces of breast milk, or else essentially, like the pediatrician was like, you'd have to do this. And what made it extra hard was that we've joked about it now because our most recent baby, she woke up every 30 minutes to eat basically, but Sophia would, if we would have let her, she would have slept all night, even as a fresh baby bringing her home. But we had to wake her butt up, feed her. She would fall asleep eating. We had to like keep her awake. And so we would feed her for like an hour, just trying to get her to finish her ounces of milk, and then turn around and have to do it again every couple hours. And so that was probably the next big milestone, was when the pediatrician basically said, like, this was a few months after. And he said, like, oh yeah, she's actually caught up on her size. She's no longer considered a preemie based off of her size. And we were just so happy because that was the next big challenge we had, was to catch her up essentially.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
imagine every single one of those, quote, normal milestones that you meet must have felt amazing.
it really did. We were so happy
Yeah,
like
it
after.
was. Yeah. And then like, so we had all of that happen, and then after,
Oh, by the way, this
um,
is probably like the heat of COVID now too. Yeah, this was like March.
It's like, let's just add more onto this, right?
I know.
I know, that's just, so that even some other family, maybe my mom was getting a little frustrated. You never let us see the kids. It's like, sorry, we're on lockdown. Like, that's the thing.
Like,
It's
hey,
like
I
we were
didn't create
already,
this pandemic, okay?
well, it's the thing is like we were already paranoid because they basically said like you can't let anyone sick around your baby. Now it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a massive pandemic going on. You're like, oh, well, can't even be around each other. And so it was a little bit of feistiness from family just from that. They're like, wait, this baby's gonna grow up and never know us. I'm like, sorry, that's just the timing of it. We all can't see each other. We're all wiping down our groceries and doing other crazy things. Like, but if anything, it didn't change our lives much because we were already kind of doing quarantines kind of stuff before COVID happened. But it just added to everything else. I always forget to add that part. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we had a pandemic going on at that same time too. And then now Fia's maybe some small little hiccups in her health here and there that we do that the pediatrician will attribute to her being just born premature. Like, and I think we have a handle on most of it now, knock on wood. Just, she would get sick and it would always kind of, a normal cold would turn into ear infection, sinus infection, strep throat, all this stuff. But we have a handle on that now because they, basically said her immune system's probably still catching up. But other than that, you would never even guess she was premature. She's been
Yeah,
doing
she's
great.
killing it. She's in a gifted school. She started first grade this year. I would say honestly, like the biggest challenging factor that we have now is just honestly like keeping Lucas still alive in our everyday life. I mean, Andrew and I do a really good job with it. And Sophia, I mean, she literally like will talk to Lucas every single day. She'll play with Lucas at school. She literally, all of her friends know Lucas. They play with him on the playground. She just started soccer. She's on a girls' team. There's a boys' team like across the way. And she's like, oh, mom, like Lucas is over there playing with the boys. Like,
Oh,
I mean, I truly believe that she can see him and plays with him. And really, like, the only reason why Sophia is here is because of Lucas. Like, he stayed alive as long as he possibly could to keep Sophia here and to keep her alive. And like, every milestone that we had and every birthday or every, we take her to the Rockies game, we buy her a Switch, whatever those things are so challenging because we feel like we're robbed. Like we feel like we should be taking two babies to the Rockies game. Two babies need to buy, like have a Switch or, we did kindergarten and like, yeah, like kindergarten continuation was so hard because they should be saying Sophia and Lucas are graduating from kindergarten. And we did talk to her kindergarten teacher, and she knew of our situation and our story. And it was the sweetest thing because she made Lucas a little certificate. She announced his name with Sophia. And so they both got their certificate. And so it's in,
that is
uh,
amazing.
yeah, it's so beautiful. And so, his certificate is in Sophia's bedroom with his urn, and like around his urn, Sophia buys so much stuff for him. If we go anywhere, she'll be like, this is for Lucas. She'll put it on by his urn, and all of the stuffed animals that we get, like Lucas has all of the same stuffed animals.
She got a little stuffed finger mascot, so we got him one too. And same with like the Rapids game. We make a point to remind our family for like birthdays and Christmas, all this, to be like, hey, make sure you get her brother stuff too, because that's been the next challenge. Is, well, our family members and friends and all that may say like, oh yeah, Sophia's birthday's coming up. We're like, oh yeah, the twins' birthday is coming up. Don't forget to buy Lucas something, even if it's something small. And so that's been the other challenge, is just constantly, it feels like we have to constantly remind people that we had twins. And even though he may not be physically here or physically real to them, he is very much front and center in our lives, and will always be, for all these milestones, for all these holidays, for all these birthdays, everything. And there's always the unexpected things too, like my wife brought up the Switch. Like when I bought Sophia's Switch, and when I clicked place the order, it was like an immediate sense of like, wow, like I should have to buy two right now. And it'd be expensive, but I don't even care. Like I should have to buy two right now. I almost wanted to buy a second one just for him, because that's how we feel about everything, every single milestone, every single, thing that maybe we valued growing up, that we're excited about. Like registering for soccer, I thought about that this year because they said, oh yeah, it's going to be girls and boys separate now. And I coach, and I was thinking, like, what would I even do if he was here? Like, how would I even be able to coach both? And would they separate them? And then when Sophia on her own said, like, oh yeah, Lucas is playing over there with the boys, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, like it makes me happy that she keeps him so alive in her world, that, because like that, like we have to constantly remind family and all that about the twins. It's not just Sophia. So at least in our household, we keep him very much so alive and a big part of our lives.
Does she understand that he was a twin of hers, or is it more just,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, she I think is starting to understand that. And I mean, I think that's just something she has always known, that Lucas is her brother and that they are twins. And we tell her too, like Lucas was born first and then she was born second, and we haven't like got into like the nitty-gritty details of like what happened to him or like anything like that, just because she's still too young to like comprehend those things. But she is very much aware that like she has a twin brother, and it's the sweetest thing. She'll draw pictures with him and her together. I mean, yeah, she does everything with him, like as if he was still here
And
today.
she'll even correct family members too if they say like, oh yeah, for, I forgot what it was, an invitation, right, to a birthday party. And the invitation only said Sophia's invited. And so she told them like, well, what about Lucas? And they're like, oh, like, oh, oops, kind of like I was even like watching it. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't have to do anything. Sophia took care of it for me. And that's the thing. She wasn't nice about it either. So I was like, awesome, this is great. But yeah, it's been tough, but I'm very happy that Sophia is keeping him so real. And the one thing too is that, this summer she was in a summer camp, and there were some older kids there, and they were kind of not picking fun, but not being nice about her talking to Lucas, because they don't understand. They're kids too, but they're kind of like, he's not here, he's not real. They were saying stuff like that, and she came home pretty upset. And so we've been trying to think of ways for her to diplomatically deal with that at school, because I was like, yeah, the older she gets, kids are not nice, and obviously, tell the teacher if they get mean, but also reminding, like, when it does come up and the kid says he's not here, he's real or he's imaginary, to say like, no, my brother's in heaven.
And then they don't really have anything to
And they
say.
don't. And that's the thing. And that's when I tell her, it's like, if they're still mean after that, that's when you go tell your teacher. And then like this year, we told her teacher right away when we first met her, like, here's the deal. She was very understanding. She had a similar experience growing up, so she's aware of it. And so if things get out of hand like that, we've told Sophia what to do. Her teacher knows, so we just keep it going for now. And then other stuff. Sophia has a younger sister. Her name is Athena, and she was born in 2022 in May. She was born almost 9 pounds, the behemoth of a baby for us. And yeah, and her pregnancy, even though it was very like stressful for us because every appointment we were worried something would happen, her pregnancy was 100% normal in every way. And since she breastfed like normal, it was a complete
180.
U-turn from what we had to do with the twins. And it seemed so foreign to us because we're like, what do you mean? We just take this baby home today after you gave birth, essentially? And they're like, yeah, take her home. I'm like, okay. And then take her home and she's breastfeeding like normal and huge. And it seems so odd to us, but that was actually what a normal pregnancy and normal baby development is like. Normal in quotes, just the standard stuff. And since then, they're best friends. They fight all the time, and Athena knows how to torment her sister Sophia. And Sophia, that's the thing. So Athena's big and almost weighs as much as her, so they fight, and it's pretty even right now. But it's definitely awesome to see that how close they are, and another just reminder that all three of them would be the bestest of friends.
I think people don't realize how much loss, I mean, not only affects, the mom and dad, but how much it affects the siblings as well. They're kind of
Yeah,
forgotten
I do
about.
agree. Yeah, yeah. And I will say, I like the challenging thing with Athena's pregnancy is every single day after everything that happened with the twins, I honestly felt like every single day was like this huge milestone. I'm like, oh, I made it one more day. Like this baby's still alive in me. I can still feel her moving. Just because, your thought goes straight to like, oh, she's gonna pass away in you. And I think that was so challenging. And it was never talked about to me, after losing Lucas and then having another pregnancy. Like these are the thoughts that will come into your head every single day because you're worried that your baby might pass away. And then I delivered Athena, and literally the first thing I said as soon as she came out of me was, is she breathing? Is she alive? And like, you would never expect that to, come out from a normal person. I guess that's never been through this. But after like experiencing something like we have, that's the only thing you wish so badly for is like a baby to come out breathing, and for her to do that, it was it was so crazy. It was so beautiful to have that happen. And for some people it's so normal, and so natural for the baby to come out breathing and not even question it or think about it. But that was that thought never would have crossed my mind until I was in the place and delivering her and that had happened. And
Every single appointment, something, some news would come up saying that it's going to be like Lucas back with the twins. It was, you wouldn't think it'd be incredibly stressful to have this normal pregnancy, but we were just so traumatized from the twins that every single week or every day, every single week, every single appointment, we're saying, oh my gosh. And then even especially when they're like, actually, you don't need to come back for like 3 weeks. We're like, no, we're going to come back every week. And they understood it. We were seeing the same medical team, and so they understood that, yeah, these people are a special case. Like they need to come in every week just for their reassurance. And because of how stressful Athena's pregnancy was, even though it's completely fine in every way, that was our final deciding point. Like, yeah, we can't do this again. So that's when we stopped having kids.
Yeah.
Pregnancy after loss is incredibly hard. I mean, and if you haven't been through it, like I don't think people can fully understand how much anxiety and fear and
Yeah.
just everything like you described. It's one of the hardest things I've ever been through for sure.
Yeah. And it was really cool too because the doctor, her name is Dr. Felly, she delivered the twins, and then in between the twins and Athena, I had two miscarriages. So she was able to be there for my two miscarriages. She was able to perform my two DNCs between the twins and Athena. And then I delivered Athena. It was Dr. Felly's day off from work.
She came in.
And she came in to deliver Athena. And it was like, Andrew and I talk about this all the time, that we feel like Lucas provides signs to us. And I feel like her coming in and being able to deliver all of our babies was like the biggest sign,
Even the same nurse, the head
from
nurse,
Lucas.
she was there.
And yeah, the same nurse that delivered or that was there for Lucas and Athena, she was there. It was her last day working at Rose, and she was there and she delivered Athena. And
Oh, wow.
then, yeah, and Athena did end up having to go to the NICU just for like a day or two after she was delivered. But this is so crazy that, and like I said, we always think about signs. Athena was placed into a room as soon as like she went to the NICU, and then they had to move her rooms for whatever reason, and they moved her to the same exact room that Sophia and Lucas were in, and it was like the most beautiful thing because I really feel like all of my babies were in that room together at one point, and I think that was like one of the biggest signs that Lucas gave us that day that, all of the babies were here in this room at one point together. And so I don't know, it was really cool to experience that.
Yeah, it gives you kind of that full circle moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, and it's so cool too, because I still talk to the nurse that delivered all of our babies. I send her updates and pictures, and it's so cool because she knows, everything that had happened and understands. And I don't know, I love that we're still in communication with them.
So, is there anything else that either of you would like to share or add before we wrap up?
I'd say the only thing would be that we've only done this, what, 2 years now? We, so in Mexico, they do the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, but we had found out a few years ago that they also have a day before. It's not as known and well known, but it's a Dia de los Angelitos, or Little Angels. And that's actually a day, it's right after Halloween, it's November 1st. And what it is that it's basically a separate day just for children, or in our case, like babies that have passed, that you can celebrate them. In that same way you do for Day of the Dead for everyone else on November 2nd. And so for the last 2 years, we've done that with our family, and we love it because it's a whole day just for Lucas, because like their birthday party is tomorrow, and we know like it's tough. It's extremely hard for us because it's all going to be centered around Sophia, and the whole time we just feel like we're leaving our son out of this. Even though we do our best to try to remind everyone it's for the twins, but we have a separate day allotted just for him, and we have our family come over and basically say like, no, this has nothing to do with Sophia or Athena. Actually, this is just a day for Lucas where we're all going to eat food. You guys buy him small little presents, and we celebrate him. And it's one thing that, if anything, you would think it'd be more of a somber day or a somber celebration. But my wife and I, Shannon and I, love it because it's a day that we feel like we're not leaving him out at all. Because that's kind of how it feels all these other holidays and everything, is that we're leaving him out. But in this day, he's front and center. And so it's one thing we look forward to now, and we do a lot of planning with that one when it comes up.
I love that you guys have done that and turned that into just a special celebration for him.
For him and only him. That's what we love about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shannon, is there anything else that you want to add?
I don't think so. That was a lot. We threw
I know
all out there
sometimes,
at one time.
And we got it in
sometimes
before.
it's hard to look back on everything you've been through and be like, did I really go through all that? Like, did that really happen?
I know. It is the truth. Every single day we still live with the grief of it. It completely changed our whole well-being.
Gotta keep going.
Yeah, that's all we can do, right? Never moving on, but just continuing to move forward.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon and Andrew, for sharing your story with us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a positive review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.